in 1983 when I moved from Bombay to Hyderabad to the head office of the company that I was working with. There I met four other colleagues, and we then formed a team of 5 and then went on to set up organizations in Hyderabad.
So on behalf of A Square Advisors LLP, thank you for taking the time to share your professional journey with us on the theme, the future of artificial intelligence, AI, and its potential impact on the society.
Thank you, Ajit, for inviting me to have a chat with you. I look forward to.
So looking back to at your journey as one of the founders in the IT industry of Hyderabad, what were some of the proudest movements and highlights that you experienced in building those startup companies?
I think first and foremost, what I would like to say is that really when I came to Hyderabad in 1983, I met 4 other professionals and we became a team and moved together to set up 3 multinational organizations. And I think that idea of we were originally professionals turned into friends and turned into families. In fact, the industry called us the Pet 5, Professional Entrepreneurs Team. Yeah, so I think that was a phenomenal thing, which I believe is a great thing of having had the opportunity. Second, I think, as you rightly said, we had the opportunity, along with the state government, to lay the foundation for Hyderabad to be the future ITS capital. In fact, very often in the lot of presentations you would hear this common phrase that Hyderabad is located north of South India and the south of North India. In fact, that was what we had coined. So really look at it. And then all the 3 companies that we had the opportunity to set up were very different in their own field. And therefore, there's no conflict of interest. And there was no aspects of that. And even today, if you really look at it, all of them are doing very well and growing. So that again shows that we did lay a good foundation for these companies. So in all, if you really look at it, I think the key that we really did was trying to demonstrate that creativity isn't expensive. And each of the organizations, both internally and externally, the way we created it was very different. So that to really prove the point that creativity isn't expensive. The whole idea was to create a stress-free environment. Because only when you create a stress-free environment, people love to work and give out the best. And that, I think, was demonstrated by, I think, having the lowest attrition in the industry. It was always in single digits. And I think all this really contributed as a team together because each of us complemented one another. And that helped from really being able to set organizations.
Very true. So, sir, the thing is, if we are in a good relations and if we are working together, not as an individual or showing ourselves, then we will grow and we will make others grow also.
Absolutely, absolutely, Ajit. I think that's the key. That each one needs to complement one another. Each one brings something to the table. I think that's why when we started to talk, I'm looking forward to learning from you because you, all, as an individual, are going to contribute. It's not that I know everything. And so that really helped. And we had the same values, same ethics. So it helps.
True, sir. So how do you see the IT industry evolving in future? And what do you believe will be the biggest challenge and opportunity for startup in this space?
Yeah, I think the opportunity for our Indian IT industry is phenomenal given today's economic growth. And we already know that we as a country have been recognized globally as a superpower in terms of knowledge, in terms of intellect. So the opportunities are tremendous and in all the fields. Today, if you really look at IT can be deployed and is being deployed in almost all aspects of an industry, which again spurs a lot of economic growth, gives a lot of opportunities. In fact, if I mean, as a chartered accountant, as a finance person, you would have observed that this year's union budget, the government really talked about IT, the use of IT right across the board, because they have seen a tremendous opportunity and have agreed and accepted that IT can increase productivity. It can bring efficiency. And therefore, even the brick and mortar industries, by adopting IT, will become more competitive in the global world, and it help us to really grow at a very fast economic growth. In fact, if you look at what NASCOM and McKinsey have said, that the possibility of a 250 to 300 billion, you know, exports growth in IT is possible by 2025 or 2030. I think that's what they really said. So therefore, the opportunities are there. How much we utilize, how much we capitalize is very different. And I think the areas that will really shape up are more, as we all know, a lot in artificial intelligence. When you talk of artificial intelligence, you talk of virtual reality, you talk of a lot of aspects from that perspective. While we talk of all this, I think there's a big need of being careful because cybersecurity is going to become a big thing. The complexities will increase, and therefore the threats will be. Today every second day we hear of a compromise on the privacy, security of customers, of data, of so cybersecurity is again going to be a big challenge. While we look at it, and with so much of complexity, so much of information, I think the other area will be data science, data analytics, because it will certainly help organizations to take much faster decisions and more rightful decisions because of the complexity of the data that's going to be thrown out. So I think these are the three areas to me that's going to be really the focus. We as a country are very well positioned to take advantage of this. So when we look at these startups, if you look at the opportunities for startups, I would think first and foremost, which I strongly am a strong supporter, being an agri economy, there is a lot of potential in the agricultural field. How do we really, because pieces of land are becoming smaller, we've seen the challenges with the farmers. So how do we increase the yield in a land rather than restricting it to one crop? So if we can work out on mechanics of how do we really look at it from that aspect, I think there's a big need. The second thing today we talk about the environment. So to me, again, there's a lot of scope, and it's in infancy, the renewable energy. I think again a big opportunity in that space. Because the key is what do you really look at? Do you look at things that are already there? But then it becomes very difficult. So to me, that's going to be. Then we've already seen Amazon and others talking about robotic delivery. You've seen how robots are now doing manufacturing. So a little crowded space, but I think there's still enough space from that perspective. And I think one of the biggest opportunities is digital marketing. Today, as we know, social media has become a big thing. Everybody wants to be on social media, so there's a big opportunity of digital marketing. Everybody's getting into it. How do you differentiate it? What is it that you can offer to a client very differently? So enough scope from that perspective. I think those are the opportunities. What more can I talk of? Other things, as we talk of really the cost of healthcare, can we find new ways of reducing that cost? How do you really interact and help? Which can you work on devices which are proactive, which can give something earlier than later, so that the health costs are reduced and you're taking preventive actions. So to me, these are some of the opportunities that I don't know what your thoughts are, Ajit, whether you,
Uh,
yeah,
No,
sure.
so I really agree with all your points. One basic and one biggest implementation, which I feel as a chartered accountant, is digitalization of income tax and the GST. So before that, we have to rush to the department and submit our papers manually. And there is a lot of challenge that the person who is dealing, he is not with available at that time when we go and at the time of hearing. And there are a lot of time consuming activities going on between the submission and the processing. Now everything is online. So what easy form, which I feel as a chartered accountant, is we submit the documents online as and when the officer or relevant concern is free, he or she can see, and then he can process easily. So there is minimal time of harassments also, because we used to go there and there is a lot of things which currently I feel is not there, even in the GST.
Yeah, Archie,
So
just what I heard that the government is trying to make those things simpler, but what I heard from friends of CA that it's so difficult to upload those forms itself. They're so complex. Though the government says we're simplifying it, but trying to upload, there's so much of challenges. The forms don't get uploaded, and the backend infrastructure, it seems to be a big issue. So I keep hearing from my friends who are CAs saying actually it's more of a headache because you spend so much time uploading and it doesn't get uploaded or the site doesn't come up. So these are challenges which again the government controls. We've heard recently last year how much Infosys struggled on those forms and they had to keep extending the timelines. So that is a issue, though there's an opportunity in fintech area also. Yeah.
so you are rightly said, sir, because a lot of challenges happens. So it's simple when we do an implementation phase maybe in any of the company, in any of where. So there are a lot of transmission time, and in that time you have to struggle it, and after that everything will be smooth. So in the initial stage, I agree there are a lot of challenges, because there are changed the system they have changed from one website to another, and income tax algorithm is not easy. It is not easy. So there are a lot of but now it's very smooth. uh, so everyone has a different view,
Yeah.
but according to me,
Yeah.
it's a really a good initiative.
It is. I agree if we can. And the way I look at it, not to hurt the chartered accountants, if the initiative is so good that as an individual one can file my returns without any headaches, it'd be a great thing. But I think that's a little far away. A CA is still needed to really look at it and help you in that aspects.
This is what the reasoning is, sir. Because income tax is not so easy, and if you do the work from a professional, not from CA, from any of the professional, I'm not saying that you have to do with the CA, any of the professional who has a good knowledge, then the filing and the processing will be much easier. I will tell you one of the example of my
Yeah.
BTech friend.
Yeah.
He used to submit the ITR by himself. So in next year, he showed me the details, and I told that, boss, you have not submitted the proper detail. So he told that, see, I am submitting from the last many years, and no one has objected me, because the thing is, for online and offline also, there is a minimal scrutiny of 2 to 3%. So there are likely chances that you will file with an error and it will be not be put in place. But I prefer that everyone should go with the professionals.
I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree because there are certain nuances that you as a layman don't know, which a
Yes.
professional will be able to help you. And always believed, and that's what we practice in all the companies. Ensure that you are, especially with your tax, doing everything that is right, so that at the end of the day you have a good night's sleep, because that's more
Uh,
important.
Everything will be on a right time also, within a with a quality, not with a compromise. If you
Correct.
will do with a compromise and your motive is to saving the tax only, then
Correct.
you will be on fire
Absolutely.
in any of the.
Absolutely. Because you, I'm sure you are aware, a lot of organizations start to do a lot. They try to have a salary structure which allows people to really play around with their taxes. But at the end of the day, we need to understand that law is not an ass. One day the law will catch up. And the day it catches you up, the consequences are going to be far greater.
Yes, sir.
So upfront, be sincere, be very much on the other side of the law rather than being on the thin ice. Because when the ice melts, you're going to sink.
Yes, sir. Very
Yeah,
true. Yes, sir.
that's what I strongly believe.
Believe
Okay.
very true.
Yeah.
Uh,
So the
so,
challenges, you asked me about the challenges of startups. I think
hmm,
today everybody is wanting to be a startup. But the key is focus on what are the real solutions, what is the real problem, and which has got the maximum areas of problems, and then find the right solution. Don't be like a herd mentality. Just to give you an example, in Andhra Pradesh, if you remember, everybody got into aquaculture because they thought aquaculture a big business, blooming business. Every second person you ask, what are you doing? I'm doing aquaculture. Without really having any knowledge, without really seeing. And the problems in that industry got wiped out. So you got to really look at and find the right solution. That's the biggest issue. Then the second thing is securing funding. Funding doesn't come easily. We always think, you know, as entrepreneurs, oh, my idea is phenomenal. Yeah, and I'll go and present it. You make a pitch. First and foremost, today funding is difficult, but unless you brainstorm and look at it, we'll come to that later. But you'll find funding very difficult. So you got to be on top of this saying, here's the real problem, here's a solution, and this is what really it is. The other is, I think the need to grow everybody wants to grow fast. That's the biggest challenge. So as a result, you miss certain key aspects of how to run and how to work things off. So I think these are some challenges that come up. As a result, you're in a hurry and you make everybody in the team run, and you want to do a marathon with 100 miles speed, obviously you're going to burn out. So these are going to be challenges that I see in terms of startups, because though we talk of that, in the last 7 years, our unicorns have grown tremendously. And even if you look at funding in the 3 years, has doubled, which is only one side of the story. When we look at the unicorns that have gone in the last 9 years, how many failed? We only look at one side of the picture. So I think these are big realistic are the challenges that I see.
even I
Yeah,
was reading one of a case study. I didn't remember what that 90% of the startups end up within 2 to 3 years with the litigation aspects. So only 10 to 5% got succeeded, and
yeah,
90%.
absolutely. That is true. Unfortunately,
So, can you share insight into your approach to building and nurturing successful teams within your company, and how you foster a culture of innovation and collaboration during your ADPs times and the previous organizations?
see, I think if you really look at it, innovation is an aspect of product processes and the whole gambit of how you lay the roadmap. Really looking at it, what are the processes? How do you really make this innovation really happen? What is the environment you create? Because at the end of the day, it is important to create a culture of innovation and really emphasize the fact to every employee that that is a key aspect of growth. So when we really talked about and made it this way, we first and foremost created a sense within these organizations that sharing ideas is not a bad thing. no matter what your idea is, big or small, right? Because it helps you to explore your mind. You need to be thinking all the time. Because if you're really working with an organization, first step over is try to build and delete that word I work for the organization. We built a culture of saying I work with the organization. So that was an important aspect. When you say I work with the organization, that means you're part of the organization. And as part of the organization, you got to be thinking in different ways. Not look at, because at the end of the day, if you keep just doing what you're told, you never grow. So you have to look at how can I, and it's not just leaders who can look at a problem. I think each individual, if you've created the right environment, can also see a problem and talk about the problem. But that happens first if you build the buddy concept. Yeah, not as individuals, but a buddy brainstorming, sharing. When you work, I'm sure when you all do your chartered accountants or your finance meetings, you'll brainstorm, and that is brainstorm together builds up new ideas. And then you throw up an idea, and people will talk about it. So the whole way we talked about it was, let's talk about the idea. Let's. It's not trying to criticize you, but trying to give you constructive feedback. Because at the end of the day, we are together in this whole business. And innovation is important if you have to grow. Otherwise, we lost stagnate. The organization will stagnate. So that way, we were able to really take it from that aspect. While we talked about this, we said it's not that every idea you try and implement will succeed. It's okay to fail. But how do you make that happen? Is you try to make every employee, you're talking employee because that's the normal word, but as you know in ADP, we called it associates, and then we called it extended family members. So our thing was to create them as entrepreneurs. Think like an entrepreneur. So if you got an idea or a team has got an idea, think of the consequences. Think of what the P&L will be, what the cost will be, and what's the benefit. Do an ROI. That help from all that aspects. And then as senior leadership team, always willing to listen and give our inputs, give our feedback. At the same time, we created an atmosphere of let's have fun. So you've got to combine all these, and I think this is what we combined together, which helped us to create that culture of innovation. We had different awards. Give it a fresh thought. So different types of things to really, some of those which were really game changers, we talked about it at our annual day and invited them on the stage in front of the whole organization. So there are areas of how you motivate, appreciate, and let that work. So that's how we really did that.
So, making employees as a part of the family will also help us to grow and let them grow with the company itself.
Absolutely, absolutely. The way we looked at it is because at the time what happens is people are people. And if a leader pulls a person up, it's taken in a wrong way. But when we created this whole thing that we are one family and therefore we are members of the family, and then somebody in the family does something not correct, someone else pulls you up. But you don't leave the family and go. You talk it over, you discuss, and stay as one happy family. And that is the spirit we created. So we called it, the other thing that we did, I'm sure you must have heard, we called it not as a workplace, we called it as a home. We said this is our extended home because at the end of the day, we spend our maximum wake hours here. And where are we most comfortable? At home. So we as an organization, as a university, wanted to create and did create an environment like a home where people felt responsible, they felt all that. And I think it really worked. It really worked. Again, I give you an example. of how we thought of this innovation culture. I'm sure, I don't know whether you heard about this. At one stage, at road number 36 in Jubilee Hills, there were lollipops. And our ad agency came and said, "Oh, it's a great idea. Why don't you put use those?" I said, "Sure." We as a team said, "Yeah, that's a great idea. But we will put everything about our own associates and their families." Because our thing was we enjoy coming to work. So it was an employee or his parents or his spouse, and the line was appropriate. Even the bill hoardings were all associates. They felt proud. They said, "Here's somebody." So it made a lot of difference of thinking differently. So it was a clear case to me of innovation where an idea was phenomenal success without really having to spend any real amount. Otherwise, you get professional models, you pay money for them. Here you had your own associates, your own members. They felt very nice, and we gained out of it. So just an example of how innovation really helps.
And
Yeah,
by this, they and their family will also feel motivated that
abs- absolutely. Social circle. Just imagine if my face was there, my friends, "Arey, we saw you on the hoarding. How
yes.
nice I'll feel. Wow." So those are things I think really make a difference. Is
So
this
what
what you're looking
advice?
for, Arjit? Or is it very different than what you were looking for?
No. It's a perfect thing I'm
Yeah.
looking for, sir. It's a
Okay.
perfect thing.
I just want to understand from your context. Yeah.
No. It's correct.
Yeah.
So, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs looking to make a name for themselves in this field? And what do you believe are the most important qualities for success in this space? Because sometimes what happens, we serve and employed for an organization and make them grow, but sometimes we lost our own name. So what do you think will a person should do?
I think as a startup, if you want to be an entrepreneur, first and foremost, don't get swayed. Don't get swayed. Don't go by media reports, which only talks of the positive sides of things, talks of how how startups have been a great success. Like you rightly said, the percentage of success is far lower. So, really, from that perspective, I think very often, for the little experience I've had with talking to startups, I think the most important thing I believe that misses out is not enough market research is done. You have an idea, great, but do market research. Understand what is the potential of your idea. Who are the players already in this idea? What is the market segment? Where is the catchment area? How will you reach the catchment area? So I think a lot of time people do not do enough market research. And unless you do enough market research, because you will get enough data, you need to have data. It cannot be, I think so, that's all vaporware. So market research is very, very important. Once you've decided your market research and you say, "Yeah, this idea seems to work," bounce it through your family and your friends. See their reactions. Based on if they give you a positive reactions and honest reactions, the next step is to create a business plan. Not 1 year, but a 3 year. And the business plan, and very often the mistake a lot of startups do, is think about only valuation. The primary objective is 3 years later, I want to have a great valuation, sell it off. The business model will not work. My advice has always been make a business model for a sustaining enterprise, and the valuation will come. Look at creating value rather than a valuation. That's really. Once you've done that, you must have a vision. What is your enterprise vision is? Because at the end of the day, you also got to look at how are you going to motivate your team, motivate every person. Because As we all know, talent is a challenge. Attrition is very high. So unless until you have a vision and which every associate who joins understands and accepts and believes in that vision, it's going to be very tough. The next thing I would really talk about is really look at, are you wanting to do it alone or are you wanting to do it with few friends or few other entrepreneurs? If you're wanting to do it with few friends or whoever they are, you got to make sure that you same the same values, your vibes are right. The ethics and integrity is important. Yeah. And each one must complement one another. I think we succeeded, the five of us as a team, because we complemented one another. And the greatest thing that we did was when somebody took a responsibility, we had utmost faith and trust in that person. Never question. But however, once a week we got an update from each one of how things have been going. The sharing information is important. So these are certain aspects for where things should be. And obviously, in today's world, website is very important. You need to have your website dynamic. You need to constantly update, and that's how it works. So while you look at the picture looks very rosy, but do your homework well. Also, make sure you have the right finances. If you're working as an individual, money will not come in so easily. Do you have the wherewithal for an 18 months cash flow? Just an outflow, not an inflow at all. Right? So you got to be very looking at your costs very carefully, your P&L and your balance sheet. You think, oh, everything, and I think we've seen enough examples. A lot of organizations which they talk of success are still making losses. The burn rate is very high. Their outflows are really burning. So be careful before you start. Make sure you've looked at every aspect of your business and how you're going to manage it. Otherwise, frustration will come up. You'll soon get frustrated, and then life at home and the office will be hell.
So it's like same mutual funds are subject to market risk. And for the second thing is, if you are joining and working with any of your colleagues or any of your family members, then don't feel that you are supreme or other is supreme. Everyone is equal and everyone is have a equal responsibility also and feel equal responsibility.
Absolutely.
Then also it will be success.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that is very, very important to really ensure. At times what happens is somebody gives an idea. It's okay to accept and say, yeah, your idea is better than mine. Rather than saying, oh, I know everything. My idea is no.
Best.
Be humble. Be humble, because at the end of it, that's the real trait of a successful entrepreneur.
Very true. So my next question: do you believe that we should promote the development of AI, machine learning, and related technologies such as ChatGPT, even though people fear that they may eventually replace humans? This is like the same scenario which we happen in a few years when all the banking industry got disliked and people got fear that they will got the jobless or not get appointed.
Yeah.
So
when you talk of banking industry, I know I was there when we launched the ALPM at the banks, the computers. Like I used to be a part of the computer industry, the advanced ledger posting machines. It was called ALPM. And bank staff was very, very, very reluctant for the deployment of those machines because they thought those machines will replace them. So we had to took a lot of time explaining to them that the machines do not replace anybody. They're going to make life simpler for you because your data accuracy will be far greater. The entries will happen automatically. The reconciliation will happen then. You will be able to do much more important work than the menial job. Otherwise, every time, today what happens, in the good old days, you went to the bank, you opens a register, 3 registers, check signatures, checks all that stuff. The machine will do everything. End of the day, you have to do reconciliation. The auditor will come and sit on your head. You have to pull out machines. So it took a lot of time to build that trust. Today, when you talk of technology, I think it is important to develop technology. I think technology is important because that's going to be driving force. Especially if you look at productivity, capital, and labor, technology addresses all these elements. And in today's global scenario, all these have to be addressed if you want to be on a global landscape and be competitive. And technology works towards helping you increase efficiency and productivity. As long as it does that, because at the end of the day, that is really important from that aspect. But it cannot be to such an extent that we start using technology that we become slaves to it. We are driven by technology rather than we driving technology. That is the real issue. Today we hear so much of criticism on chat GPT. So to some extent it is good. But if you're going to tell, now write essays for your child, we're killing the child's mind, thinking, the innovation, the research. After all, our mind, who created technology? Who created chat or AI or what?
We,
Human mind.
we all.
So don't kill that human mind. Yeah, sure, artificial intelligence is good for getting data and doing all this. But let it not take our lives over. That's the thing. So we've got to be clear where we draw the line and in what aspects do we adopt it. It cannot be that I am going to be all over. In fact, you hear now because of this, a lot of layoffs. People, unemployment is just, people are just going because I've got this going. So let's really look at it from, because then the economic growth will not happen. If people don't have the money and they're without jobs, they will not spend the money. Where is the money to spend? So I think to be cautious, certainly use it where necessary in a lot of areas like medical, space, defense, fair enough, but not to the extent of that.
So the thing is, what I realize is after getting ChatGPT, everyone, whether it's a technology person, whether it's a finance, everyone is getting slave with the ChatGPT, and then they are not using their mind to even write one message, one line, one question, anything. They are referring the ChatGPT and getting the work done.
Yeah. Today, if you look at today, WhatsApp, emojis have taken over. You want to say thank you, you'll just do this. You'll send that emoji. Right?
Like,
So it's just we got to be really careful. Let's not let go that human touch. Right?
very true.
Use it where it's appropriate, where it makes a difference, where it helps in productivity, capital, and all that aspects.
And one more thing with this WhatsApp referring is nowadays people are not getting social, so they are writing a message on a WhatsApp, happy birthday, everything, and the work has done. So that feel and touch of meeting in person and all will going vain, and I think it's not a good sign.
In the good old days, you would call up and say happy birthday, Archit. Today I'll send you a WhatsApp message. Happy birthday, Archie. Not even say Archie. I will just on your WhatsApp thing, happy birthday, have a nice day.
So that feel and touch will not be a good
Right.
if
Right.
if you give a call or if you meet a person. So AI will not take 100%. What I feel.
Definitely there are advantages in AI, virtual
Advantage.
reality. There are big advantages. But be cautious in where we use it. That's the only way.
Okay. So What do you think is the most significant factor in achieving the success in a life? Qualification, background, family heritage, or any other paths to success? My question for asking is this: nowadays, if someone is from the IT sector, he or she feel that I have not done IIT. If he's from an MBA side, he will see that I have not done an I from IM. If I refer from my profession, he or she will see that I have not done an article from a big organization, or I have not cleared in a first attempt, or if I cleared everything, I have not come with a rank. So I will not be successful because of I have. So do you think these are the factors for achieving any success?
I think qualifications are important, but they're not the wherewithal and all the end of it. Qualifications are important because they lay the basic foundation, and that is important. After that, I believe a lot of factors on success, at least I can talk personally. As you have seen, I don't have great qualification. I wasn't a great academic, great in academics. But one thing you learn is when you don't have something, God gives you something better to compensate. At the end of the day, I truly believe God makes everyone equal. Somebody has a lot of brains, a lot of intellect, he'll give somebody else something else. So while qualifications, basic qualifications are important and things, at the what is more important to me as you go along the journey? Observation, using common sense, and being aware of situations, seizing opportunities. Right? Be clear in your mind. That's what important. Just to give you my example of how things happen and how fortunate. Obviously, you need some being fortunate. Family background is also very important from that aspects. All those are important. But at the end of the day, as an individual, what are you doing about it? As I said, I did commerce, as you're aware, and I did commerce because there was no choice. I wasn't good in literature, I wasn't good in science, so I did commerce. And then I decided the best way for me was to get into sales. Because in sales, you don't really need a qualification and starting at ground zero. So I started as a sales guy, but with a clear, after a year or two, clear goal of what am I wanting to achieve. So between making correction, therefore, if I am going to do this, what's the next step? Next step to me was marketing. So after spending some years in Bombay, and Bombay is a place where you understand, and I can tell you that while as a college student, being in Bombay gave me a great opportunity because as part time, I used to do market research. There was an organization which did continuous market research. So after college was over in the afternoon. I used to take up this collecting data from various places. It was all about smokers, and then doing interviews and all that. So it taught me a lot of things. It taught me relationships. So moving from marketing, then the next step was product management, admin, product management. So I had the opportunity, and I looked at it. Okay, what can I do? As I told you, I was in office automation. One day, my boss said, "Would you look after purchase along with what you're doing?" I said, "Sure." And those are all components of computers, ICs, capacitors. I had no clue. But I said, what happened? Let me learn. Whether the maintenance, copiers, anything that was needed for the organization, I was willing to do. And things happened. And luckily, with God, everybody's blessings and well wishes, I was able to lead 3 good organizations. So that is the key of the whole thing. You got to be honest. To me, ethics and integrity is topmost. Second is respect for every individual. The third thing, no work is big or small. Yeah. I think you need to appreciate, if you say I respect every individual, don't say, hey, that guy is a peon or office assistant. You should be able to do the same job that he's doing. He's also a human being. So be humble, respect for the individual, make sure that no big job is big or small. And at the end of the day, as you go up the ladder, ensure you don't forget that you where you started from. Make sure your feet are firmly in the ground. Right? And success will come. Success will come. When you take a decision, make sure it comes from your heart. Conscience is clear. People will say a lot of things, but ensure it's all clear and nothing will happen. So these are things that besides those qualifications, the simple things help you to achieve a lot of things. Yeah. And the biggest test for me was that when I led as a managing director, as you know, I wanted to create an environment where people were not scared of a managing director. And my test was that if I walked past you, would you change your screen on the computer? Because nobody is full time working on their job. You're browsing, you're doing various things. So my test was always, if I walk past you, did you change your computer screen or not? If you didn't, that means I have achieved. At least I built that confidence in you that I don't have to worry. But if you changed it, then I know you're still worried about me. And I need to put that effort to make you comfortable.
So that same culture I have put it in my office also. So
Very good.
sometimes my employees and my associates, who I feel a part of a family also. So every time in 8 hours or 7 hours, you will not have full work. So there are chances that you will be not occupied for a full day itself. So I told them that you do whatever you want. So we have a ground, this garden outside my office. So you will do whatever I do. But if a client comes to our office, then please don't pretend that you are not occupied. So it will be a bad impression to them. But unless you are free to do whatever you want, and don't show these things and all that you are working and all. So
Okay.
it's not a
Because,
good.
yeah, because at the end of the day, like I had coined this word, life balance. Normal is work-life balance. And my thing is, it's life balance. And the way I look at it is, we are passionate about life. Right? I don't think anybody can say I'm not passionate about my life. You're passionate about life. You need to also be passionate about what you do. If you're not passionate about what you do, you're not going to put your best into it. And if I think it also becomes important for leaders to create that environment for you to be passionate about what you do. So if you're passionate about what you're doing, then that's also your life. And therefore it should be a life balance and not a work-life balance.
Correct. So that is the reason I used to take interview every month. So it's like my hobby come passion. I didn't get any money or anything. I didn't see. But this makes me happy and feel good and get connected with the seniors so that I can come across what's going around the world, around the industry, and maybe in after 10 to 15 years, I will be a much knowledgeable person than any others. So that's the main motive and purpose of doing these things.
I just change that, Arjit. I would be more knowledgeable than most. I would be able to share a little more knowledge and help others
Correct.
because of the various interactions that I've had the opportunity to go through.
Correct, sir. Very true, sir.
Right? Because learning is a continuous process. It
Yes,
doesn't
sir.
stop. Right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So that's the way I
So, at the last, thank you for your thoughtful responses to my question. I enjoyed our conversation. I'm confident that the insight you share will inspire future entrepreneur. Thank you so much
Come
again,
on,
sir, and
Ajit. No,
giving your
you
time.
don't have to say thank you. I think it's been mutual. As I said, every interaction has to have a takeaway. Otherwise, it's useless. And I would really thank you for thinking about me and saying, hey, let's have an interaction. So really appreciate that and wish you all the best. And take care. Keep smiling. Be happy.
Always, sir.
Be
Always.
healthy and be safe. Okay.